This is the kick-ass cup, by the way, guys. It's super cute. I love it. Hey everybody, it's Katie and welcome back to today's video. So for today's video, I thought I would do something that I have wanted to do ever since I got pregnant with my son, and that was to tell my birth story. I never got around to actually doing this. I think I made a video like his room tour, and I may have done like an update video or something similar to that, but I never actually made my birth story video. So that's what today's video is all about. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. So basically what had happened was my whole pregnancy was super weird. I was going to my OB's office twice a week, every Monday and every Friday, to get scans done, to get basically ultrasounds done, and to get stress tests done. The ultrasounds were on Mondays and the stress tests were on Fridays. And if you don't know what a stress test is, it's basically where you sit in this room and they attach those belly bands to your belly and they track the baby's heart rate and contractions and all that kind of stuff. That's basically what it is. And so I had to go in twice a week to get that done. The reason why I had to go and get that done is because Mason was losing amniotic fluid when I was pregnant, and so we didn't really want to make him come early if we didn't have to, but we wanted to just check on him every week and make sure everything was okay and that he was growing like he should. And if it came down to it, my OB was going to go ahead and just induce me and, you know, take him early if need be. And I find it kind of funny now that I look back on it, but it was Thursday, or was it Wednesday? It was either Wednesday or Thursday, and my grandparents were going on a bus tour, and my grandma, who was already so much in love with Mason at the time, she goes, "Don't you go having that baby while I'm gone." And I told her, I said, "I make no promises, Mama. You know, if he comes, he comes, but I will try my best to wait for you to get back." And you'll find out why it's kind of funny here in just a second. But basically, that Friday morning, I woke up to go to my stress test, and funny enough, I was gonna cancel this appointment because I was so tired. I was so sleepy. I did not want to get up and go. And I think I even made like a Snapchat about it, about how I didn't get any sleep that night. So I find that kind of funny that I was gonna cancel this appointment, and thank God I didn't cancel it. But, you know, Nathan got me out of bed. He goes, "Come on, we'll just go. It's just gonna take, you know, a few minutes. We'll be in and out in no time." So I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even do my hair. I don't do my makeup this day. I am literally in, I think, sweatpants and a t-shirt. And we go to my OB's office. And this one particular day, it was so packed. And it was never packed, ever. This office was hardly ever had any people when I went. But today it was beyond packed. It took us a while to even get back to our room. So that was a little strange to me too, because it was never that busy. Take me in, they do, you know, my blood pressure. I'm sitting here like, what am I doing? They take my blood pressure and they take me back to the room and they get me all set up, and you know, I'm sitting there with Nathan in the little dark room just chilling, waiting and stuff. My doctor comes in. "Hi, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good, just tired, you know." And she starts looking at the paperwork basically that's coming out that shows Mason's heart rate and shows the contractions. And she's sitting there, she's looking at it for a minute, and then she leaves, and a nurse comes in and she looks at it, and she's kind of like staring at it for a while. At the time I didn't think anything of it, but she's like sitting there looking at it pretty hard, and she goes, you know, you feeling okay? I'm like, yeah, you know, just kind of tired. And she leaves, and I don't think they thought we could hear them, but we're sitting in that room and I hear, she probably is gonna have to have the baby today. Did you see those contractions? His heart rate's dropping a little bit. And I'm like, Nathan, did you hear that? Like, are they talking about me? And then my doctor comes in, God bless her soul, and she's looking at it some more, and then she looks at me and she looks at Nathan and she goes, you want to have a baby today? And we were just shocked. Nathan jumped up from his chair and walked over to her and was like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, I think you're gonna have to have a baby today. And I'm kind of like in this weird like shock of, wow, that happened fast. And Nathan's over here freaking out. And she explains to me that I am having contractions, and when I'm having contractions, his heart rate is dropping. By the way, at this point I was 37 weeks, so I was basically in that little middle point where it's premature but it's also full term, so it's just that little itty bitty gray line. So I wasn't really too concerned about him coming early. She basically said, I want you to head over to the hospital. I'm gonna call them right now and get you a room, so go ahead and head over there and I'll meet you there. At this point we rushed to our apartment because our apartment wasn't that far from the hospital. So we went to the apartment and we grabbed all of our hospital bags and grabbed all the stuff that we would need, and Nathan is freaking out. We make it to the hospital and we get into a little triage room, which is where they put you, you know, before you have a baby. When we get to the hospital, they hook me back up to the belly monitors and all that kind of stuff, just to kind of see if maybe I could have him vaginally, or if I had to have a C-section. I was hooked up to that for about an hour. We called my mom, and my mom came, and we called my grandma. This is where it gets funny. We called my grandma, and she is stressing out so bad because she's on this bus tour and can't come home to see the baby and be there with me. And I was like, I'm sorry, I tried to, I didn't mean to. This literally happened the day after she left for the bus tour, so I feel really bad. I noticed that the contractions are getting worse. Keep in mind, I'm having these contractions and I'm not feeling them, which is the weirdest thing. I think I felt maybe 1 or 2 of my actual contractions, and they hurt, but not as bad as like one of my period cramps. TMI, you know, if anybody. But I couldn't feel any contractions. That was the really weird thing. So my doctor comes in and my nurse comes in, and they say, we're gonna have to have an emergency C-section. There's no way I could have him vaginally because they believe that the stress of me pushing him out could be dangerous. Luckily, I had prepared for a C-section. I kind of had in my mind, okay, you know, I need to be prepared for either way. So I had watched C-section videos and I had watched vaginal birth videos, and I just kind of prepared myself for either one. So a piece of advice, if you are pregnant, watch both to prepare yourself, because you never know what could happen, and a C-section can be very, very scary. And so I feel like watching those videos prepared me for a C-section, and I wasn't as nervous. After my doctor told me that, we got ready and they got me prepped and they got Nathan prepped, and they rolled me off to the delivery room, and it was probably the strangest experience I've ever had in my life. You know, I'm laying there on the table and I've got my arms like spread out into like a T. Not to mention the epidural. The epidural, I did not want an epidural. But when you have a C-section, you have to have one. And so it didn't hurt going in. But I will say that I do have worse back pain now. But that's a whole different story. After they got me prepped and they got me ready, they brought my husband in and they started doing the C-section. My doctor did. And it was so fast. I remember being kind of like starting to zone out and, you know, feel like I was on some weird high. And she goes, okay, we're starting now. And the nurse or the anesthesiologist was talking to me and the nurse was talking to me. I can't even remember to this day what they were saying, but they were talking to me about something because we were laughing. Next thing I know is she says, you're gonna feel some pressure. And within like a couple seconds, it felt like she goes, here's your baby, and just lifts him up. And I just remember crying. It was the best moment of my entire life. And just seeing him, and he was just so, he was so cute and so little. And I was just bawling my eyes out. And the whole process went super duper fast. It just, to this day, it still amazes me that I did that. And, you know, Nathan went over and they weighed him and they measured him, and Nathan got to cut his umbilical cord. And they brought him over to me, and I was ugly crying so bad. I have a picture, and I hate looking at the picture, mainly because of how ugly I look in that picture. But, you know, he was just so little and he was so precious. And my heart. I have baby fever so bad. And so I thought talking about it in this video would help me, and it's not. So after they got me all, you know, sutured up and they moved me onto the recovery room, that's where things got crazy, because I felt like I was so high. I couldn't focus. I remember they brought Mason to me, and the lactation consultant came in. They tried to talk to me about all kinds of stuff, and literally my head is like all over the place, and my eyes, I think at one point I went cross-eyed. I don't know. I was just trying to like get myself back into the groove. I remember even saying something like, I feel so high. And the nurse is like, oh yeah, that's the epidural, it'll wear off. And I'm like, They rolled me into my room, and at my hospital they played a lullaby, and they always play a lullaby whenever a new baby is born. I was up and walking 3 hours after I had Mason, which surprised a lot of the nurses that I could actually do that. But I was so ready to get in the bathroom, and I wanted to shower so bad, but I had to wait. The next day, my grandma came to visit, and boy, she goes, I told you not to have that baby. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it, but it was like best friends like that. The instant connection. And I'll actually put a picture in here of my grandparents holding Mason for the first time. It's so sweet. And I look back on this picture all the time, because I know that was probably one of the best moments for me, was seeing my grandma with my baby. We also had to stay in the hospital a little longer than expected, mainly because Mason got jaundice. And I remember crying for some reason. I don't know if it was the postpartum or what, but I remember crying and thinking that was my fault. And the nurse had to be like, no, like a majority of the babies that we, you know, have come in here, they have jaundice. Like, it's fine, and you didn't do anything wrong. So that was a trip for me. I didn't think that I would cry over that, but I did. But, you know, after a few days of that, we finally got to go home, and to this day, I still can't believe that I have a 2-year-old and that he's gonna be 3 this year, and that 3 years ago I went through all that. And I think that's why we, you know, went ahead and decided that we were gonna name him Wyatt, you know, Mason Wyatt, because Wyatt means little warrior. And boy, was he our little warrior. He was our little trooper. I actually have his coming home outfit and his first little sock and his little bracelets and stuff like that in a shadow box. I finally got around to doing it, and I am so happy with how it turned out. You kind of can't see it because of the light, but you know, here's his little hat and his bracelet and another little bracelet that he had on his foot, I believe, or that may be my bracelet, I can't remember. And then his little socks, and back here you can't really tell, but I have his little swaddle blanket from the hospital in there. So I actually plan on doing this with all of our children, because I just feel like that's a really nice way of preserving everything. He was just so little, and it's so... Hi, Taco, you're back. This is like every time I record, she tries to come in here. Isn't that right? And she was so good with the baby too when he was born. She was all over him. She loved him. You still love him, don't you? But basically, that is my birth story. I know it's like 2 years late, but better late than never. And it's something that I've always wanted to do. I can't believe that that happened 2 years ago. It's so crazy. I plan on next baby, you know, being able to vlog it and record it and all that fun stuff. We mainly couldn't record the birth itself because that hospital restricted that, but you know, what are you gonna do? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.